Breaking now at 4, wreckage found. An Egypt air flight crashes in the Mediterranean with dozens on board. Was this an act of terror?
And remembering an icon, award-winning 60 Minutes correspondent Morley Safer passes away at the age of 84.
Ambulance emergency. A car slams into an ambulance in Lee County with a patient on board on the way to the hospital.
And just in, Wink News is hearing from Cape Coral Mayor Marnie Sawicki about a restraining order she filed against a city employee.
And it's a hot topic, roundabouts. But Wink News investigates. Can they really keep you safer on the road?
Now, we had some rain across Southwest Florida earlier this morning. Now we're watching a few isolated showers, a few thunderstorms developing near Lake Okeechobee once again. When I come back, we'll track these. We'll talk about those rain chances as we work our way through your Friday and into the weekend.
Wink News begins with breaking news.
Breaking first at 4, Wink News is live on the scene of a deadly crash that's causing traffic problems in North Fort Myers. Troopers say a car hit a bicyclist at Business 41 and Brooks Road, just north of Pondella Road. At this hour, all northbound lanes of 41 are shut down. Let's show you some video we shot earlier. At least one person is dead. No word yet on when those lanes will reopen, but stay with Wink News for updates throughout this newscast.
Turning now to that tragic Egypt air crash. This is our first look at the very first pieces of debris from the flight that went down in the Mediterranean Sea. 66 people were on board, and now the airline is contacting the families of those victims.
Wink News reporter Tina Kraus is live in London with the very latest. And Tina, what kind of items have the search crews found in the water?
Bob and Amanda, Egyptian authorities say searchers have found life jackets, pieces of plastic, all in the Mediterranean Sea that are likely from the wreckage of the missing Egypt airliner. But there are conflicting reports now as Greek authorities claim debris found so far does not match the aircraft. Most of the passengers on board the missing flight are from France and Egypt, and they're starting to be identified.
Family members flew the same route from Paris to Cairo to get the latest on the missing passengers of Egypt Air Flight 804. Egyptian authorities say floating debris, including life jackets, has been found near Carpathos Island in the Mediterranean Sea. Ship captain Tarek Waba posted photos online that show objects in the water, but Greek authorities claim debris found so far does not belong to the aircraft. Egypt's aviation minister suspects terrorism, but experts say it's too soon to reach that conclusion.
Could it have been pilot issues? Could it have been mechanical failure? Could it have been a bomb? All of these things will be revealed when we finally are able to find the aircraft itself.
The flight was headed to Cairo from Paris. It had 56 passengers and 10 crew members on board. Greece's defense minister says the plane was flying at 37,000 feet when it suddenly dropped and turned sharply before disappearing from radar. Mervat Monir says her niece was a flight attendant on the jetliner who'd just gotten married. We still have hope, she says. The FBI is helping in the investigation, and the U.S. Navy is sending planes to help with the search.
Relevant authorities are doing everything they can to try to find out what the facts are of what happened today.
France is also taking part in the investigation.
And Egypt's civil aviation minister is saying there is a stronger possibility this is a terror attack than a technical failure.
Tina, what are the indications? Any indications that this is terror related?
Well, yes, we do have some. In fact, the plane's erratic course has raised a number of possibilities, including terrorism, perhaps a bombing or a struggle over the controls with a hijacker in the cockpit. A U.S. intelligence source tells CBS News all indications are there was a catastrophic event that took down Egypt Air 804. But this source also says U.S. officials did not detect an explosion. So whether this was a deliberate act or some sort of accident, it's a question investigators will work around the clock to answer. Amanda and Bob?
All right, Tina, and we still are still very early in that investigation. Thank you for that. Wink News did some digging. This is the latest incident to raise concerns about travel safety in Egypt. Back in March, a man with fake explosives hijacked an Egypt air flight that was headed from Cairo to Cyprus. The terrorist was later arrested and nobody was hurt. Last October, an explosion brought down a Russian jet not long after it took off from an Egyptian airport. 224 people died and ISIS claimed responsibility. Stay with Wink News for more on this devastating Egypt airplane crash. We'll have another update with the very latest information coming up later on Wink News at 5.
Breaking news just coming in from Collier County. The sheriff's office is investigating the death of a farm worker, and the heat may be to blame. According to CCSO, Jean Alkheim worked for Gomez Harvesting, and the owner of that company says she saw him stumbling in the tomato fields and exhausted from the heat. Deputies say at some point during a 2-hour bus ride back to Immokalee, Alkheim passed out and was later found unresponsive, not breathing, and with no pulse. The major crime unit is investigating. Our other big story is the tragic death of an iconic journalist. Award-winning 60 Minutes correspondent Morley Safer has passed away at the age of 84.
And just as the medevac came in, the boy died. He was 17.
That's Safer reporting during the Vietnam War, showing U.S. Marines burning down a village. His journalism helped shift the way America thought about that war. Safer spent an incredible 46 years reporting for 60 Minutes before retiring just last week. We'll have more on his life and legacy coming up in our second half hour. All new at 4, an ambulance caught in an emergency when a car slams into it at Daniels Parkway and Gateway Boulevard in Lee County. Troopers say there was a patient in that ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Now, neighbors are concerned about what they call a dangerous intersection. Wink News reporter Ellen Thalls has the story.
They happen fairly frequently, so it's not too much of a surprise.
Drivers say it's not shocking to see a crash at this intersection. Today, an ambulance was driving a patient to the hospital with lights and sirens on when troopers say the driver of this SUV turned in front of the ambulance, causing the crash. That driver was thrown from the vehicle.
When I pull in the mornings, it's not so bad, but when I leave, I don't leave at the stoplight. It is a little worrisome.
Carmen McDonald works nearby. She tells Wink News she avoids the intersection because she feels other drivers don't pay attention. Others say speed is an issue, especially when drivers ignore the 50-mile-per-hour sign.
Coming to work, people come from Lehigh and really, they're going 70, 80 miles per hour. And then you come to this stop sign and they just don't have time to brake.
Ellen Thalls, Wink News Now.
Wink News has confirmed both paramedics involved in the crash are okay. No word yet on the condition of the driver who was ejected or the patient who was inside of that ambulance. Also new at 4 in Charlotte County, paramedics rushed 2 bicyclists to the hospital this afternoon after they were hit by a car. Wink News there on Duncan Road in Punta Gorda. Troopers say one of those bikers, a woman, has critical injuries.
Another traffic alert, this one in Collier County. Crews are now repairing a broken drainage pipe on Vanderbilt Drive in North Naples. This is just blocks away from Vanderbilt Beach Road near the Ritz-Carlton. The county says it hopes to have the work done tonight. New in the last hour, we just heard from Cape Coral Mayor Marnie Sawicki about a restraining order she filed against a city employee. She's accusing that employee, who is Sawicki's ex-boyfriend, of sending her threatening text messages and phone calls. Mayor Sawicki says the threats have impacted her ability to do her job. She says after their last breakup, that employee was, quote, threatening to destroy me. He called and texted to the point I didn't attend my city council meeting. He was there, and when he found out I wasn't, he texted me demanding to meet. I said no, unquote. We reached out to Mayor Sawicki for a comment, and she just responded with a text message. She says she will not be issuing any public comments on this matter because it's one of a personal nature. There will be a court hearing on this issue next week.
Right now, the hunt is on for the suspect in a scary case of road rage. Lee County detectives say Edgar Kelly was screaming at the top of his lungs inside of his car at a red light on Palm Beach Boulevard. When another driver told him to stop, detectives say Kelly pepper sprayed that man and took off. If you know where he is, call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-780-TIPS. We have breaking news just coming in. This man, Lester Lozada, has just been arrested for opening fire on a tow truck driver in Lehigh Acres earlier this week. This was at Old Fashioned Auto on Homestead Road. Lozada is now facing aggravated battery charges.
A major plan to stop the spread of the Zika virus could run into some roadblocks. The House just passed a $622 million plan that allocate resources to fight Zika. But that's only a fraction of the $1.9 billion the Obama administration's asking for. President Obama has threatened to veto a spending plan that doesn't meet his requirements. Golfing legend Phil Mickelson's been named in an insider trading case. He has to pay the Security and Exchange Commission more than $1 million for a profit he made on an insider stock tip.
On Monday, jurors will start deliberating in the case of a former Baltimore police officer who was charged in the death of a young man. Closing arguments ended today in the Edward Nero trial. He's one of 6 officers charged in the death of Freddie Gray, who died in police custody last year. It's a case that sparked widespread riots around the country.
It's a hot and controversial topic in Southwest Florida, roundabouts. In just a few minutes, Wink News investigates, can they really keep you safer on the road?
And there are future coming up, how FGCU is making sure these middle schoolers get the right education.
And the rain fell earlier across coastal Southwest Florida. Now we're watching some of the showers and thunderstorms developing once again near Lake Okeechobee. When I come back, we'll track these. We'll talk about the rest of the work week. Do we see rain back in the forecast or a little more sunshine as we work our way into your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Now on Wink News, last week Mercury stole the show when it lined up perfectly with the sun. Now it's the red planet's turn. Sunday morning, Mars, Earth, and the sun will perfectly align. This is video from when Mercury appeared in front of the sun. The event with Mars happens once every 2 years and is called Mars opposition. Sky watchers can enjoy a brighter and seemingly bigger Mars into June. The Hubble Space Telescope will be zooming in for some great pictures.
Wink News meteorologist Scott Sedeker joining us now. I had some rain this morning, but it's drying up in this area for now, right?
Lee County picking up some pretty good rain amounts, anywhere from a ½ an inch up to an inch, almost 2 inches of rain across Lee County early this morning with that thunderstorm. May have woke some of you folks up early in the morning. And then we dried things out. Most of the day, we've been dry across Southwest Florida. Let's bring you back to around 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can see how some of the clouds were lingering over coastal Collier County, Lee County, as well as Charlotte County. As I advance this, the Gulf breeze kind of developing now, pushing a lot of the cloud cover well inland. Once again, near Lake Okeechobee, starting to watch some of the showers and thunderstorm activity develop. And not too bad up and down the coast. Kind of a mix of sun and clouds. Lee County southward into Collier County. Starting to see a little more sunshine up in DeSoto as well as Charlotte County. I think that will be the trend as we work our way through the rest of the evening. There's our Skycam, live Skycam in high definition. Our Hyatt Regency Coconut Point Skycam pointed off to the northwest there. There's Fort Myers Beach, and you can see some of the cloud cover hanging around the area. Notice some breaks in the clouds over downtown Fort Myers. Live Skycam as we point off to the west. 86 degrees currently at Page Field in Fort Myers. Not too bad of an afternoon today. Temperatures generally in the upper 80s due to some of the rain early and, of course, some of that cloud cover. Dew points, though, still pretty high. Dew points in the low 70s, so the humidity is with us. Relative humidity right now at 63%. There's Doppler radar, 1 hour time lapse. Not much going on up and down the coast. We're looking at some dry weather for most of Southwest Florida, and we could use the break as we've been seeing a lot of rain, especially inland and near Lake Okeechobee the last couple of days. But that's where we're watching some of the showers and thunderstorm activity develop right now. There is Moorhaven. You can see that rain area kind of sitting right over Lake Okeechobee. This rain area is working away from you folks in Clewiston and Moorhaven, working its way off to the north and northeast. Also been watching some rain in and around Sebring and Lake Placid. You can see that thunderstorm just to your north, that as well, pushing off to the east and northeast, and some rain just to the north of Buckhead Ridge. Now here's the rainfall just from today. Remember, we had that line that worked its way through around 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning across Southwest Florida, waking up, I'm sure, some of you folks with some of the lightning and, of course, that heavy rain. You can see some of the dark green indicating anywhere from an inch to almost 2 inches of rain across a lot of Lee County. Also in our inland communities from LaBelle toward Moorhaven and Clewiston, picking up some pretty decent rain amounts as we worked our way through the overnight period. But as you can see, the Doppler estimates showing about an inch, a little bit more than an inch in North Fort Myers. Out by the Gateway community, about an inch or so, a little less than that out in Lehigh Acres. But either way, it was much needed rain across the area. And that should help the firefighting efforts as we're seeing that ground really get wet now across Southwest Florida. There are numbers, some of the rainfall totals just from this morning. A lot of folks picking up about 2 inches of rain. Clewiston, North Fort Myers, there's one of the rain gauges over 2 inches. You can see about 1.5 inches right here in downtown Fort Myers at our Wink studios. Partly cloudy, temperatures in the 80s as you head out this evening. Isolated rain, especially in our inland communities. Sunset coming up at 8:10 this evening. We'll pick it up tomorrow morning. We do wake up with just a few clouds. Second half of the day, there's the isolated rain popping up. So for your Friday afternoon, and as we work our way into the evening, look for some of that rain second half of the day in our inland communities. Much of the same for Saturday. Sunday, we could see some rain at the coast as well as inland, but then we watch a weak cold front. Look at that, lower humidity arriving Monday, and Tuesday we'll see highs in the low 90s.
All right, Scott, thank you. Hurricane season's coming up, and Wink News wants to help you prepare. This Saturday, May 21st, is our annual Hurricane Expo in Charlotte County. It's from 10 to 3 at the Charlotte Harbor Event Center. Wink News meteorologists, anchors, and reporters will all be there to answer your questions.
We have breaking news just coming in. US 41 is now back open at Brooks Road in North Fort Myers after a deadly crash. Wink News told you at the top of this newscast that the northbound lanes were completely shut down after a car hit a bicyclist. This is video of what the scene was like earlier today. At least one person was killed. Again, those northbound lanes of US 41 are back open in North Fort Myers.
And just into the newsroom, stocks fell on Wall Street today, led by industrial and healthcare companies. Investors are bracing themselves for the likelihood of an interest rate increase at the Federal Reserve's policy meeting next month. The Dow dropped 91 points, the Nasdaq fell 26, and the S&P 500 ended down 7 points.
2 cities in Southwest Florida made the list for the fastest growing areas in 5 years. The Census Bureau says Fort Myers and Bonita Springs are among cities that grew the fastest from 2010 to 2015. In those years, Fort Myers rebounded from the housing crisis. Metro Orlando tops that list. Doral near Miami, St. Cloud, and Winter Garden near Orlando are also on the list. New this hour of Wink News, roundabouts have been a hot topic for quite some time now. The question is, do they make an intersection safer?
Well, many Wink News viewers have reached out to us with mixed feelings about them. So we sent Wink News reporter Megan Contreras to different roundabouts in Lee County, and she joins us now live with what drivers are saying. Megan?
Yeah, well, people living here on Hill Avenue say before the roundabout ahead of me was added to their street, people would speed. And now they're forced to press their brakes before they make that curve. And people on the street, well, they really like it. Roundabouts are popping up throughout Southwest Florida, and there are plans to build dozens more. Some people love them.
I think they're great. I think they slow traffic down. They do what they're supposed to do.
And some people are on the fence.
As they get close to the roundabout, they slow down and hopefully they continue that.
John Bishton lives on Hill Avenue in Fort Myers. He says the roundabout near his house is serving its purpose and slowing cars down.
This is a throughfare from McGregor to 41, and it's a straightaway, so it can become a speedway.
Transportation leaders say their biggest roadblock to building more roundabouts is getting more people to like the idea. One argument, roundabouts are safer. The Florida Department of Transportation says 45% of traffic fatalities and serious injuries occur at an intersection with a stop sign or a traffic light.
Well, the speed, unfortunately, a lot of people don't slow down like they should when they get to the roundabout, and that causes some problems.
Yeah, and FDOT tells me when they look at putting up a traffic light, they look at whether or not a roundabout would be the better route to go. Now, coming up on Wink News at 5, I look into the different intersections in Lee County with a roundabout, and I'll let you know how safe they are. Reporting live in Fort Myers, Megan Contreras, Wink News now.
New developments on Wink News. No one ever wants to see a parking ticket on their car after spending some time at the beach. But in case you are one of the unlucky ones, the town of Fort Myers Beach is making it easier to pay it online. All you have to do is go to the town's website, and the link is right on their front page. However, a $3.50 transaction fee will be added to your total.
Ice cream lovers, listen to this. A shop with a unique way to serve up the sweet treats coming to Lee County. It's called Sub-Zero, and they literally make your ice cream right before your eyes using liquid nitrogen. The shop's located inside the Village Shop Shopping Center near the Health Park Hospital. It opens next Friday. They already have one in Naples. Can't wait for that.
Yeah. Well, preparing for the future years in advance.
A bunch of Collier County middle schoolers went to college today. Wink News explains how FGCU is helping them further their education.
And Bernie Sanders under fire. The presidential candidate is pushing back against his own party. what his supporters are accused of doing, and just how tight the race for the White House is getting, coming up. A Wink News exclusive, all new at 4, preparing for the future years in advance.
Today, some very lucky Collier County students visited FGCU. They got a chance to see what it takes to prepare for the future, and they took a tour of the campus as well. Only Wink News reporter Jennifer Jones went along for the ride.
I would like to become an engineer.
Susana Cruz is already planning her future career in 7th grade.
It just sounds fun. You get to build stuff.
Cruz had never been to a college campus before today and feels it's important to be the first person in her family planning to attend.
You get a better chance at getting a better job instead of being at stores and just saying your total is this much.
We have many of our kids that come from homes that you hear the word college, university, but it's very abstract. This makes it real for them.
It's pretty cool. To be honest, we saw all the places.
I got to see how the freshmen would live when they first come here.
The students got to see the dorms, the library, the engineering college, sit in a class, student union, and Alico Arena.
When I go to college, I'm interested in going into a scholarship where I could get paid and all.
Ultimately, like you see on all their shirts, it's about a pathway for every child, whether it is college, university, military, or one of our career in a year.
At FGCU, Jennifer Jones, Wink News, now.
The district's been taking thousands of other 7th graders on tour for the past few weeks.
They only started implementing this college field trip just last year, but it's never too early to start thinking about this.
Yeah, talk about a great idea, because it makes them think about their future and see what it's really going to be like when they're in college.
Yeah, in 7th grade.
Yeah.
Well, gridlock at airports across our country.
But now TSA leaders say they have a plan. In minutes, Wink News reveals how they're planning to keep you moving through security in the summer rush. And later.
It was very horrible at night, but here he is. He saved me.
Saved by a guardian angel. That's how one graduate describes the man who saved her from a fire. Now, 18 years later, the two are reuniting. The heartwarming story you don't want to miss ahead.
From Southwest Florida's news leader, this is Wink News, live at 4.
From Wink News Campaign Central at 4:30, a Democratic dispute. Bernie Sanders is coming under fire because his supporters are accused of disrupting Nevada's Democratic convention. Now, some are worried there could be violence at the upcoming convention if tensions aren't eased.
Meanwhile, a new poll shows the race for the White House is tightening in a Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton matchup. Wink News reporter Craig Boswell is in Washington with more. Craig?
Amanda and Bob, good evening to you. Unity is an issue right now within the Democratic Party, though Hillary Clinton today predicted that will be reconciled quickly. We also heard some of the strongest language yet from Clinton about Donald Trump, about the nomination, as both she and Clinton commented on the Egypt air flight. Presidential candidates weigh in on the Egypt air disaster. Donald Trump is blaming the crash on terrorists. He tweeted, "When will we get tough, smart, and vigilant? Great hate and sickness." Hillary Clinton said on CNN that the Egypt air flight shows we need to work with allies to keep America safe.
With a flight coming from Paris, our biggest concern is what's going on in Europe.
Clinton says Trump isn't qualified to be president and says his controversial comments hurt America's ability to fight terrorists.
We have seen how Donald Trump is being used to essentially be a recruiter for more people to join the cause of terrorism.
Clinton also says she will be the Democratic nominee. She and her supporters are calling on all Democrats to unite to defeat Trump.
We've had 13 million votes cast for Hillary Clinton and 10 million for Bernie Sanders. It's time those 23 million come together and convince the rest of the country to follow suit.
But tamping down the tensions between Clinton and Bernie Sanders supporters could take some time.
Everybody needs to take a step back and a deep breath.
Sanders says accusations his supporters will bring chaos like what happened last week in Nevada to the July convention is nonsense.
That is a lie. That is an outrage.
California is the biggest prize in the roughly 9 remaining primaries. And once the candidates secure their party's nominations, they can begin receiving intelligence briefings. Live at the White House, Craig Boswell, Wink News now.
Craig, thank you. Just into the newsroom, a jury says a Colorado movie theater was not liable for a 2012 shooting that left 12 dead. The 6 jurors announced their verdict just hours ago. Victims and family members of victims said lax security allowed James Holmes to open fire at the midnight showing. But the owner of the theater said there was no way it could have predicted the attack. Happening now, it's the 4th day into the 2nd round of hearings for the sunken El Faro ship. This is a live look at the hearing, still going on. 33 crew members were killed, including 4 from Southwest Florida, when the ship sank during Hurricane Joaquin last October. Just yesterday, Wink News learned the ship received outdated weather data about Hurricane Joaquin, which may have contributed to its sinking.
New right now on Wink News, the crash of an Egypt Air jetliner is raising new concerns about terrorism, and that means more pressure at the airports. The crash comes as security lines at major airports look like that, an outrage among passengers. Some of those passengers have even had to miss their flights. Wink News reporter Chris Van Cleve is at Chicago's Midway Airport, where TSA leaders announced changes to help with the crowds.
Enormous security lines are ratcheting up the pressure on the Transportation Security Administration. Now the TSA is shifting some of the responsibility to travelers.
We are not here today to blame this on passengers, but this is one contributing factor to the lines being longer. Everything out?
Officers staged a unscientific show and tell at Chicago's hard-hit Midway Airport to illustrate how prohibited items like water bottles and knives back up the lines.
It holds all of the rest of those bags that are on that queue from proceeding through.
The TSA says much bigger issues than those prohibited items are their staffing crunch and just the sheer volume of travelers packing the checkpoints.
Nationwide, an average of 7% more passengers from last year to this year, and in some of those larger airports, up to 15% more.
To handle the crowds, the agency is hiring an extra 768 screeners over the next month, also shifting more canine units to larger airports and bumping up part-time workers to full-time. Passengers can only hope those steps will alleviate lines like this one at Midway.
I think it's a problem. I came 3 hours early to make sure I got my flight.
If the crowds are bad now, wait until the summer, when travel is expected to hit new records. That includes the upcoming Memorial Day weekend, which could be the busiest ever. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Chicago.
One factor contributing to the crowds may be the lower cost of travel. The drop in fuel prices has kept down ticket prices just in time for the summer holidays.
New information on Wink News. A LinkedIn security breach 4 years ago is far worse than previously thought. Hackers stole personal data from about 117 million users, not the initially estimated 6.5 million. Hackers are trying to sell email addresses and passwords online, which could potentially be used to break into users' other online accounts. LinkedIn will ask customers again to change their password.
Caught on camera on Wink News, a police officer cited in a scary crash. It happened outside of Orlando. Look at that. The officer says he was chasing a suspect when he just slammed into a woman who was going through the intersection. You're going to see it again in a second. There it is. Let's take a closer look at that video. Let's take it full for you. That officer is on paid administrative leave. The woman hit, ended up breaking her wrist and her arm. She says she has no idea when she'll be able to go back to work.
Cannot eat. No, I cannot go to sleep straight like how you like to sleep, And I have to, sleep with pillows under my arms so they could be lifted up for a couple more weeks. And it has been pretty tough.
State troopers say the officer had his lights on, his sirens going, but failed to safely get through the intersection. Wow.
Well, it can be hard to go on vacation and put down your cell phone.
Now you may be having an easier time ignoring it. Still to come, Wink News explains the incentives some destinations are giving to keep you disconnected. Plus,
Morley Safer, CBS News, near the village of Camney.
Losing a legend. Wink News takes a look back at the legacy journalist Morley Safer leaves behind. Next. New on Wink News, legendary CBS newsman Morley Safer has died.
The 60 Minutes correspondent just retired last week. He spent decades at CBS News.
Wink News reporter Craig Boswell takes a look at his legendary career.
6 days. American losses.
Morley Safer covered the world for over half a century, and he did it in a way that not only touched lives, it actually changed them. His reporting from Vietnam helped shift the way America thought about the war.
And just as the medevac came in, the boy died. He was 17.
In 1965, he showed U.S. Marines burning down a village, sending terrified civilians running from their homes.
Morley Safer, CBS News, near the village of Cam Knee.
It was a new way of covering war, realistic and bleak. Safer himself was Canadian, but he settled in New York after joining 60 Minutes in 1970.
Did you ever hold up anyone?
No, sir.
In 1983, his report on Linnell Jeter became one of the show's proudest moments. Safer and his team uncovered new evidence showing Jeter had been wrongly convicted of armed robbery in Texas. The report led to Jeter's release from a life sentence. Safer also had a flair for the lighter side. He traveled the world, covering everything from the tango craze in Finland to the British passion for gardening. He documented good food, fine wine, great cars.
Awful puns.
In one of 60 Minutes' most popular shows, he interviewed the Muppets.
I thought 60 Minutes was a high-class show.
And he took on the art world twice. First in the 90s, when he questioned the value of modern art.
It's a white rectangle.
Right.
Then again in 2012.
Kitsch, the cute, the clumsy, and the incomprehensible.
But Safer himself was an artist.
When room service closes, Safer begins.
He carried art supplies when he traveled and spent his sleepless hours painting in his many hotel rooms. Over his many years with 60 Minutes,
I'm Morley Safer.
Safer picked up dozens of the most prestigious awards in journalism. For a man who enjoyed telling stories, he always said there was no better job than the one he had.
I confess I'm among them.
Some people might be feeling a little groggy today after the lightning show and all the rain last night.
Absolutely, right around 1 o'clock to about 3 o'clock, that line working its way through Southwest Florida. A lot of lightning and some very heavy rain in some neighborhoods. Across a lot of that across Lee County into Charlotte County. And it was much needed rain across the region. I know areas in South Fort Myers picking up about an inch, almost 2 inches up in North Fort Myers. Well, things are drier right now. We're looking at a Doppler radar, 1 hour time lapse. All the rain that we've been watching basically developing near Lake Okeechobee once again. Most of the rain up and down the east coast of Florida, and I think that will be the trend as we work our way through the rest of the evening. Zoom in over Lake Okeechobee. There's Moorhaven and Clewiston. There's the thunderstorm right over the middle of the lake. That thunderstorm working its way off to the east and northeast, so that one will be pulling out away from the lake here in about a half an hour or so. Also been looking at Sebring and up in Highlands County and Lake Placid. You can see that thunderstorm. This one is working its way off to the east-northeast as well. So it looks like you're starting to dry things out in Sebring, where you had some rain the last couple of hours or so. There's our live Village on Venetian Bay Skycam in North Naples, and you can see blue sky there. So very nice shot in North Naples. Pretty smooth for you boaters if you are heading out this evening. Not too bad up and down the coast. There's the causeway, and you can see a few of those clouds up and down the Lee County Islands. Some sunshine trying to break through those clouds. I think we do see a little more sunshine as it gets ready to set in the western sky coming up around 8, a little bit past 8 o'clock this evening. Temperatures right now, not too bad today. Highs so far in the upper 80s. Could see some low 90s all said and done, but generally we're in the mid to upper 80s right now across the region. 84 degrees in Naples. So this evening as you head out, temperatures staying in the 80s because of the sunshine before it sets at 8:10. A southwesterly breeze 5 to 10 miles an hour. Partly cloudy sky, we'll call it, because some of those clouds starting to thin already. Isolated rain and a few isolated thunderstorms possible as well, mainly in our inland communities out by Lake Okeechobee, and that's what we'll be watching as we work our way through the next couple of hours. First thing tomorrow morning, we could wake up with just a few clouds. We'll call it partly cloudy. I don't think we'll see much in the way of rain, but notice our future track model painting in a few showers possibly up and down the coast. But second half of the day, as we kick off the weekend, right around 4 o'clock or so, I think all the rain, just like today, will be up and down the east coast of Florida over Lake Okeechobee, while we remain dry up and down the coast for your Friday. And then by Saturday morning, we'll wake up with just a few clouds. Second half of the day, I think once again, a few isolated showers and storms developing, mainly in our inland communities as we work our way through the first half of the weekend. So you boaters, take advantage of tomorrow. Not too bad at all. Smooth conditions, 1 foot out in the Gulf, a southwesterly breeze with us 5 to 10 knots. Temperatures starting off in the low 70s with a partly cloudy sky. It will be a humid start, and then second half of the day with some sunshine and some isolated storms developing inland, we'll still see high temperatures back into the upper 80s and low low 90s across the region. Once again on Saturday, as I mentioned, look for some isolated storms basically in our inland communities. Sunday could see a few showers up and down the coast. First half of the day, second half of the day mainly inland. But that's a weak cold front working its way through. And right now still holding steady as we're going to see some slightly drier weather, possibly Monday, lower humidity and temperatures in the low 90s.
Scott, thank you. All new on Wink News. If you dream of a vacation away from your cell phone, email, and social media, then you're in luck.
Wink News anchor Teresa O'Shea shows you a growing number of destinations that are actually rewarding you for staying disconnected.
Laurette Veris loves to get away to this resort and spa where she unplugs from it all and gets rewarded for it.
They offered a detox promotion where it was $200 towards the spa if you agreed to give them your cell phone, your iPad, and your laptop and not pick it up until you leave.
She happily handed them over. The offers are coming from small independent resorts and big hotel chains, like this one offering kayaking lessons if you leave the phone behind during the trip. Or this one offering a free sunset cruise if you can go 24 hours without your device. One expert believes the hotels have realized we want to let go in more ways than one.
Even though we're addicted to our phones, deep down inside, we really want to let them go and truly embrace our vacations.
Travel experts say resorts realize you're not getting the experience you've paid for, and they aim to change that.
If you think about travel, it's about encounters. But how are you going to have encounters if you're on your phone and you're not talking to the people anymore? You don't need to ask questions anymore. You can just ask Google. So that takes away from that essence of travel.
Laurette says being unplugged and being rewarded for it is really the best of both worlds.
It makes the vacation even better.
Teresa O'Shea, Wink News, now.
So the downfall, experts say if you rely on your phone for things like navigation, and who doesn't, then you might need to reteach yourself the art of using that old map, among other things, and you may need to bring a real camera on your trip.
I think I'd have some major withdrawal symptoms there.
I think
that
so
would be
too.
Tough to do.
Separation anxiety. Here we go.
That's right. Well, he saved her life 18 years ago, and now he's seeing her graduate from college.
A girl narrowly survives a fire and is saved by what she calls her guardian angel. Straight ahead, the emotional story on how her rescue is helping her future.
He saved my life. He saved my life. He's a guardian angel to me.
An amazing story of friendship on Wink News. Years after they first met, a retired police officer in Connecticut reunited with the girl he saved from a fire 18 years ago.
And he was there to attend her college graduation. And new right now, Wink News reporter Katie Harris explains the special day for both the graduate and her hero officer.
When Josie Aponte graduated magna cum laude from Eastern Connecticut State University on Tuesday, she had a big cheering section in the crowd at the XL Center.
I was most happy when I would look up at the stands and I saw my family with the banner.
Sitting with her family was an old friend, retired police detective Peter Getz.
Honestly, it gave me a little bit of a chill.
Without Getz, Josie would have never made it to that stage.
It was very horrible that night, but here he is. He saved me.
That horrible day was back in June of 1998. Josie was 5 years old when her home on Washington Street in Hartford caught fire.
And the fire was so heavy they couldn't see. They crawled. And they found Josie and her cousin.
Josie's cousin died in the fire. She almost died too. This photo shows Detective Getz carrying her unconscious body from the scene.
We're a block and a half from the hospital. We're not going to wait 10 minutes for an ambulance to get there. So Scott drove. I jumped in the back of the cruiser, did CPR on her, and when we got her to the emergency room, she was somewhat back, and the emergency room did their magic and brought her back.
She spent the next month in several hospitals recovering. Getz came to visit.
But he got me this bear, and here it still is, the bear, and it's very special to me.
Getz said he was always keeping tabs on where she was in her schooling, but 2 years ago, Josie found him on her own, wanting to know the story behind this photo.
I didn't know what happened at all.
They've kept in touch ever since, and when she was getting ready for graduation, she knew Getz had to be there, a part of her story who helped get her to this day.
He saved my life. He saved my life. He's a guardian angel to me.
Wow, and for him to be there when she graduates, and I have a feeling they're going to stay in touch for many, many years to come.
Yeah, probably friends for life. What a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Huh? Lois is here now with a look at what's coming up at 5.
Well, more than 20 guns stolen from cars in Southwest Florida. Police say the biggest problem, thieves swiped most of those guns from unlocked cars. Find out what gun owners need to do to keep their weapons out of the wrong hands. Plus, would you buy twisted carrots or combined cherries if they were cheaper? Grocery stores sell the prettiest produce, but we uncover a push to save you money on fruits and vegetables. And a craving for Taco Bell goes viral. Meet the former Collier County deputy who's making headlines around the world after waking up from weeks in a coma. Hear about his miraculous recovery when Week News continues in just 90 seconds.